Good evening on this Tuesday night. Welcome to the UD Football Show here for this Tuesday, as we're going to be talking with the head football coach of the University of Dubuque, Stan Zwiefel, here in just moments. The Spartans opened up Iowa Conference play last Saturday at a tough loss at Luther, 28-14. We'll break down that loss with Coach and a look ahead to the homecoming contest this Saturday as UD will take on the Simpson Storm. That's a 4 o'clock kickoff, so keep that in mind. If you're going to come on out for the football game, it's a 4 o'clock kickoff right around 4:05 because there is some TV coverage as well. So the Spartans and Storm will be able to be viewed on TV and, of course, listened to on the radio on 101.1 The River, as we'll be looking forward to that contest. 3:40 with our airtime there. But the Spartans looking to bounce back after, like I said, a tough loss to Luther College to open up the Iowa Conference portion of the season. And we'll visit with Coach Zwiefel about that. Also, a little bit later in the program, our player spotlights. Tonight we've got Alec Arvanatekis from Downers Grove, Illinois, who's going to join us, freshman running back who's off to a great start for his UD career. And also on the defensive side of the ball, Zach Murata from Wayne, Illinois. He's one of the primary members on that defensive line for the Spartan attack this year. And we'll visit with both of them as part of our UD football show here this evening on this Tuesday night. We'll come back and we'll visit with the head coach of the UD Spartans, Stan Zwiefel, when we return. This is the UD Football Show here on 101.1 The River. And we're back here on this Tuesday night, and the coach joins me right now, head coach Stan Zwiefel for the UD Spartans. And Coach, thanks for coming up here tonight once again. And tough loss to break down, 28-14 to Luther. But, Luther, pretty good offensive game planned, and then they ran their option offense pretty well in that win over the Spartans on Saturday. You know,
Tim, we had talked about last week that we really thought it was important that we got off the field and had a chance to minimize the time they were on the field. And our first half really played very close to what I thought was going to play. We had not scored down inside the red zone. It was 21-14 or 21-7 at half, but really the time of possession was just about equal in the time of snaps of play. And we kicked off them to the third quarter, and they went on 2 extensive long drives. We had the ball 2 minutes and 36 seconds, and that was 28-7. And our one drive, we went down to the 5-yard line and threw an interception, which I thought was a very critical point of the game, and put us in a kind of a situation that there was, I don't know if there was a sense of panic, but dang it all, there wasn't going to be a lot of time left when we got the ball back, and it just did play out that way. I thought we played hard. I didn't think we played smart. You know, Tim, this season's had a reoccurring theme to us. We've made a number of mistakes, and we've yet, as I've talked to you on both our 3 previous radio shows, I thought we'd be able to clean up the mistakes we've been making. We haven't been able to do that offensively. We've continued to, I'm not sure shoot ourselves in the foot is the correct way to put it, but we have made mistakes in execution. And then defensively, we just had a hard time getting off the field against teams that have been running the ball against us. And, of course, Luther has an outstanding run game. And you know what, Tim, when I left the field, I thought maybe they were better than I thought. And I knew they'd be tough offensively. We had talked about defending the wishbone is extremely difficult. You can't prep for it. We had that extra week, but you can't ever prep for the speed. But the quarterback was much better at handling the ball, and they made a couple of scheme adjustments to what we were doing, and we just couldn't seem to get the ball away from them. And then conversely, when you're in that kind of game, as we talked about, Tim, and we talked about the team this all week, it's so precious. Every possession is precious, and we turned the ball over 4 times again. And so I don't know how you can win a game when they've got the ball for 36 minutes, which is really a half more than you have it, and you end 4 of your possessions, 5 with a fumble, 5 of our possessions on turnovers. So we put ourselves in a very difficult position. Here's the good news, Tim. 1 game doesn't define the season. Here's the bad news. We're in game 5, and we're not playing very well. And that onus comes right smack dab on me. We've got to play better offensively. We got to play better defensively. We got to get off the field defensively. Our special teams, again, I thought was a wash. I thought they played even with those guys. I thought it was a very equal. And we were concerned, Tim, as we talked about being on a grass field, and the wind condition surely was something that affected the kicking game, but our kicking game came through just like it had against Pacific. So I feel like our kicking game has really held us in the games where we're at. We've got to get better offensively. Got to finish drives in the end zone or kicking the ball through the goalpost for a score, and we've got to take care of the dang ball. Mm-hmm. And then, as I mentioned, Tim, we just got to quit giving up 9-minute drives, 17-play drives, 15-play drives, 16-play drives. Somehow you got to come up with a stop or a turnover or something. And at Pacific, we were able to do that and get off the field with turnovers. And against Luther, we weren't able to. Mm-hmm. But hats off to Luther. Well coached. They did a heck of a job. I think they'll beat more people than maybe a lot of folks think they will. They're 4-0. Played I thought, a very emotional, exciting game, but we allowed them to do that by not getting off the field and not finishing our drives.
Yeah, you talked about not playing a clean game yet, and just some of the things that you saw on Saturday. A drop pass here, a penalty flag, ill-timed, a couple of them when you were driving. They're on their one drive, and, there's just those little things that turn into big things.
Yeah, and on good teams, they don't happen, so they never come out to be a factor. We dropped a pass on our second drive that might have been points. We got a hold on the 15-yard line on 1st and 10. The 15 ended up being third, and I think 27, and threw a pick off that possession. I don't know if that's the pick as a result of the penalties, but it put us in a very long yardage situation. And, of course, when you do those things and you're not as good as you want to be, then those things really come back to make it very, very difficult to sustain drives. Mm-hmm. I will tell you this, we had our best practice of the year tonight, and that's exciting. I always tell our guys, there's no secret to how you play well. You practice well. And as I've told you, Tim, a number of times, we have not practiced clean all year for whatever those reasons are. We've continued to have little mistakes. Each position group is responsible for that, but we've got to get the thing turned around right now, Tim. I mentioned to you before we went in the air, when you look at the hourglass and the sand's going through it, man, that sand's pouring through that hourglass pretty fast right now. We got to get that thing stopped and get ready to go.
Your opening drive, it was a thing of beauty. 7 plays, 84 yards. I got a feeling that if you could have a blueprint for a drive, that would be it. And then, like you said, it was just hard to figure out the rest of the game. You really didn't have that consistency after that.
We didn't, and we always script our first 20 plays of the game. We got through 12 in that game, which is really unusual. That meant the game was going well. We had a drop that stopped our second possession, which was an easy first down catch, just a drop, a flat-out drop. And the next time I looked at the scoreboard, we're down 14-7. And that's how things have happened against us. And, of course, so now we've got to figure out a way to stop that. But I think the most important thing, it's really about us. As I've mentioned a number of times, Tim, it's not about our opposition as much as it is about us.
Mm-hmm. On the defensive side of the ball, shutting down that option is tough, as you mentioned. And their running attack led to them being in a lot of third down and short situations, or it opened up some big plays.
Yeah, they made 2 big passes, which really shocked me. I thought we had a really good plan up to stop any of their throw game. But, when you have the success they're having running the ball, and the quarterback was just faster than I thought. Those 2 long runs he made, Tim, really outrun a couple of our guys in our secondary who I think are very fast. So, as I say again, they really did a heck of a job preparing. They had 2 weeks to prepare also, and I think they really came out emotionally probably more ready. But I don't know. Son of a gun, you can't, again, let a team have the ball for 37 minutes and you have it for 23 and really expect you to have a great chance unless you finish every drive with a touch or a field goal, and we didn't finish any of those with the exception of 2 of the touchdowns. So I think the way it played out, it's probably the statistics will bear that we didn't play well enough to win.
As you point out, though, just 1 loss and just 1 game into it. Whole slate of games left to go in the Iowa Conference, and I guess that's where you have to go from here. With and it sounds like you had a good practice, guys buying into that outlook.
I think at any time, whether you're 4-0 or 1-3, as we're 1-3, and boys, that disappointing when I say it, but I can't change the record. They ain't let me go back and change that to W's when they're L's. And I tell guys all the time, really what's happened in the past, that's just an imposter. That's got nothing to do with what's going to happen on Saturday. How you prepare and plan this week is what's got everything to do with Saturday. And so if you ever get caught up in looking what's happened, whether you've done really good or really bad, you're going to have a problem. Now, we have, and I tell you this, Tim, frankly, we don't feel good about ourselves. And I don't know how we can when a team that was expecting to be 3-1, 4-0 is 1-3. That's just the nature of the beast, isn't it? So we've got to remember, hey, those games don't count from here on in. But Simpson is going to be an entirely huge game for us because we've got to get back on the winning track, and we've got to start playing football like we're capable of.
It is going to be a huge game. The Simpson Storm coming in this Saturday to Chalmers Field, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk more with head coach Stan Zwiefel. We'll visit about the opponent for this Saturday, and then, of course, we'll have our player spotlight segment as well here before we wrap up our UD football show with Stan Zwiefel. We'll come back to Chalmers Field in just a moment here on 101.1 The River. And we're back here on this Tuesday night, the UD football show with Stan Zwiefel. And Coach Zwiefel is going to talk to us a little bit about the Simpson Storm coming in. Homecoming this week, though. So big time on campus and, a lot of alumni coming back. Yeah. And, it's always a festive occasion. Yes. And you throw a football game in, and it's a big week here at UD.
Yeah, a big homecoming game against an opponent that's really, we've had a nice little rivalry over the years that I've been here. This is going to be our 6th game against them. We're 4-1 against them. And, of course, last year was that holy balls 50-46 game, Tim, as I've talked that about a lot of folks in the offseason. What a football game for a spectator. That was a lot of fun to watch. I'm not sure it was good from the coaching viewpoint. We lost that game 50-46.
Especially a defensive coach.
Yeah, that's true. The interesting thing about them is they're 3-1, and they lost last week out of BV, which surprised me because I thought they would probably win that game. They've been on a little bit of a roll. They return a couple guys on their offense and just a couple guys in their defense. They graduated 23 seniors last year, just very much similar to us and a very similar team. Their probably forte in the last year and a half has been offense. And I think they'll, again, probably that quarterback is a kid that's replaced that 4-year starter, Taylor Nelson, very much similar to him, kind of a scrambling type of guy and makes a lot of plays. His whole offense goes through his quarterback play. But, they beat Illinois Wesleyan, which I thought was a very, very big win for our conference and an equally big win for Simpson and Coach Glagowski down there, who's done a tremendous job. They'll bring up a team that, hey, they're 0-1 in the conference just like we are. And if you start out 0-2 in the conference, now you got to really rely on somebody else to take care of business for you. And in a 7-game schedule, that's hard to do, Tim. So this game's going to be really critical for one of us. Is going to be in a very difficult position after Saturday. So, and you got to look at it that way because it really is. You've got to start. If you're 0-1 in the conference, you got to win that second game. I think they're playing with a lot of confidence. I think they were a little bit probably surprised at how Buena Vista moved the ball against them. And they are, I think, first in the league in rushing defense. But they gave up some yards through the air against BV, especially some big plays in a very, 38-31 game, another high-scoring affair. So we haven't done that yet, Tim, offensively. It kind of for us in the last 4 years, that's kind of been a given for us. We feel we're going to go out and score 35 to 48 points, and we've got to try to get back on track offensively, and we've talked about that earlier in the show and in our earlier shows. But I think the key thing for us in this game is, number one, let's not be off the field offensively for 2/3 of the game. Let's have our defense get some stops and some takeaways like we did at Pacific. Let's make sure that our offense is not turning the ball over just like we did against Pacific. Put ourselves in a position to take care of what we do and figure out what they do as we move along. And then I think the biggest thing is, can we play with a little bit more emotion early in a contest and get off to a very, very good start. Not just our first possession, Tim, but really the first half, where we can play clean football on offense and do some things on defense to get us off the field and go from there.
Mm-hmm. I was looking back at that game, Simpson-BV, and Simpson actually led a couple of times by 14 points in this game. So to have Buena Vista score on them like that, I think 5 unanswered times.
A couple big special team plays. Tim really turned it around, and that wind, as we talked about last Saturday at Luther, there was a big wind, and BV kicked off, and the up back from Simpson didn't handle the ball. They recovered, scored a touch. Simpson threw a pick. They scored a touch. Simpson went out 3-and-out, and they scored a touch. And all of a sudden, the game that seemed to be in control for Simpson really wasn't. So some big plays happened against them. They have some big play potential on their offense. It'll really be a good matchup. They're very similar to us, Tim, in formations and what they're doing offensively. They're very similar to us, that they have a lot of new people at very important positions on their football team, i.e. quarterback. So there's some really similarities between us, and it's really been a very good rivalry. It's been a lot of points scored, and we've been able to be fortunate enough to come on the top end of that. But last year they kind of turned the tables on us, and we're looking forward to playing them.
Mm-hmm. Defensively, what kind of problems will they pose against you?
You know, I think they're a very multiple coverage team, probably one of the teams that will play that plays more coverages than anybody else. So they're going to try to get you to throw a ball where you shouldn't throw the ball based on a change in coverage. They disguise and stem their front and their coverages. And so we've got a couple things where we think we can get them lined up in what we think they're going to be in. We've got some things we think we can put them in situations where we can make a high prediction of what they're going to be in. But they've always been a team that's going to try to make you make a mistake. And I think, boy, with us, in the last 4 games, we've made some mistakes. So we're hoping we can clean that up and also be in a position where we're going to take care of the football no matter what they play in coverage.
Mm-hmm. As far as your team's psyche, as you get ready for this football game, what's your job as coaches? I mean, to really keep them focused and keep them in mind of the situation. You still got a full slate to go.
Yeah, Tim. One of the interesting things I've always thought about football is this: I think it's a repetition game where you develop the player's skill, and football coach has to be a psychologist, but God dang it ain't that dang hard. Practice hard and play hard, and everything will take care of itself. One of the things we've had to have them do is try to focus on what's coming ahead, and that's what happened in the past. But it is difficult, Tim, because we expected our expectation level was so much higher this year than what we've performed. Now, that doesn't mean what we've had as goals are out of reach, but we got to start getting going on that. But I think the biggest thing I always talk to our men about is what's happened in the past. That's got nothing to do with what's going to happen tomorrow. Nor it's going to have anything to do with Saturday. What's really going to predict on Saturday, how do we practice on Tuesday? How do we practice on Wednesday? How do we practice on Thursday? We practice well in those days, execute our offense, execute our defense and our special teams. We'll do pretty dang well on Saturday.
Mm-hmm. Looked like you came out pretty good injury-wise at Luther last week. Was there any problems with injuries?
We're as healthy as we've been since the second game where we lost those 3 athletes on injuries, Dobratz and Sadowski. Those guys won't be back for a little bit yet, but we have not had any new injuries. We're probably as healthy as we've been since game 1, so that's exciting. And I think the other thing about that is, you start getting here now, you're mid-part of the season. Boy, the end is coming fast, Tim. It really is. It comes so very quick. You look back, right now we're on practice 46. We only have 24 practices left. When you think about in terms like that, it's really like, wow, you know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of things that need to be done can be done. Will they be done? We're going to find out Saturday, obviously.
Well, Coach, we certainly wish you the best of luck with the Spartans. Again, just summing up keys for the Spartans if you're going to come away with that first Iowa Conference W.
First of all, I think we got to get off the field. Our defense has got to prevent them from taking the ball and holding on the ball. Number 2, we got to stop turning the dang thing over, right? The games where we've turned it over, we've lost. In the games where we haven't turned it over, we won one. And against Platteville, we minimized our turnovers and had a hell of a game against a great football team. Yep. That's probably as key as anything for us. I said as early, I think, Tim, our special teams are really playing pretty well. Continue to play at that high level, get a little bit better taking care of the football, getting our butts off the field on defense, and we'll see what happens.
Coach, we'll see you Saturday. Thanks a lot for joining us. And, again, best of luck to the Spartans here on homecoming.
Tim, make sure you wear your good game face because you'll be on TV, my friend.
Well, as possible as that is, we'll make it happen. Coach Stan Zwiefel joining us here on the UD Football Show with Coach Zwiefel. And when we come back, we're going to talk with our players that are going to join us tonight, Alec Arvanatekis and also Zach Moronic joining us here on the UD Football Show. Coming up in just a moment here on 101.1 The River. Back on a Tuesday night here at Chalmers Field, the Spartans will be taking on Simpson College this Saturday, and we invite you to tune in to our broadcast on 101.1 The River. We'll be on the air at about 3:40 in the afternoon on Saturday and a 4 o'clock kickoff. And we're going to talk with a couple of players that Coach Zwiefel sent our way to talk to this evening. First, on the defensive side of the ball, Zach Morata from Wayne, Illinois, joining us. And Zach, thanks for coming up here to talk with us tonight.
No, thank you, Tim.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the Spartan season. You want to get some more wins in your back pocket right now. Talk about the defense, your frame of mind right now as you're trying to focus on the rest of the season at this point.
I think we got a good group of guys. I just think we all need to come together a little bit more and play a little bit better team football.
Mm-hmm. On the defensive side of the ball, I mean, from last season, you played for the Spartans a year ago. Where have you seen the improvements, up and down the line, and where do you feel the strengths are of this defense?
I really think we have a fast secondary, and we have some linebackers that can come in and fill, and a D-line that just likes to get after it.
Mm-hmm. The game was Saturday against Luther College. I mean, that's a defense's nightmare to try to contain an option type of offense like that, and you probably won't see anything like that again. You're probably glad.
Yeah, it just wasn't a good one for us.
Yeah, what was the biggest key for trying to shut that down when you did have success doing so, and what was the key to making that offense, controlling that offense?
Well, with that type of offense, everyone should have a job. Like, someone has to take the dive, someone has to take the quarterback, someone has to take the pitch man, and a lot of times things get scrambled up. Football is unpredictable, and sometimes you forget those assignments.
Mm-hmm. Last year, you remember the game against Simpson. It was unfortunately a loss for the Spartans, but just an unbelievable offensive game, and it just seemed like nobody could stop anybody. And I'm sure you guys are focused on trying to contain that offense a little better this year.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to pay attention to the details a little bit more this game, I think.
What makes Simpson, what are some of the keys going to be to shut down their offense and get the offense onto the field to get a chance to score some points?
Definitely is going to be getting to that third down and make it a winnable third down for us, not a third and short. If we can definitely force them to pass the ball in a third and long, I feel like we have the advantage.
Mm-hmm. Defensively, talk about your defensive coordinator, Coach Schmidt. He seems like he's a player's kind of guy.
Oh, Coach Schmidt's the man. Love the guy. He's a great guy.
Is he pretty motivational?
Oh, of course. He comes in with the greatest stories and fables that can just really touch the situation that's on hand for the team.
Well, that's what it takes, to inspire somebody. Now, as far as your football career here at the University of Dubuque, what really stands out maybe as memories you've had so far?
I just remember coming in as a freshman playing linebacker, and they just said, you need to change. I mean, this isn't your best position, so I decided to take one for the team,
mm-hmm.
and I just can't forget the guys that I've been with here
mm-hmm.
since day one. I just see their face, and it keeps remembering those great times.
What was the most difficult thing about making that change from a position you played in high school to something totally different?
I guess it just takes time. Anything new that you try, it's going to take time and work, and some people can do it, some people can't.
Mm-hmm. You're from Wayne, Illinois, and I told you guys beforehand I wanted you to think of something good about your hometown to talk about that, maybe something that makes it famous or some of your memories of Wayne, Illinois.
Oh, Wayne. Wayne is a little town in between about 4 bigger towns, and it's got one stoplight. It's a suburb of Chicago, so it's not too rural, but it has a horse club. That's what it's kind of got, a horse club that's known for, and the thing is, I don't have a high school. I got set in through the boundaries, and the boundaries have been changing. And so that kind of just migrated to a public school, and that just made my home there. I'm trying to make a spot for Wayne in this world. Something for Wayne to be good about.
Well, there you go. I think you're off to a good start. You've had a great career as the Spartan defensive lineman, and you got one more year to improve on that some more in the rest of this year. So, Zach, thanks for joining us, and best of luck to the Spartans this Saturday.
Thanks, Tim.
All right, and we're going to have you hand off the headsets here to a guy that's used to taking handoffs, Alec Arvanatakis, and he's a new face on the Spartan team this season out of Downers Grove, Illinois. And Alec, thanks a lot for joining us here tonight.
Thank you.
Well, you're a freshman running back on the Spartan football team. You had a nice game this past Saturday, 113 yards rushing. Is the game slowing down a little bit for you now with the college game as opposed to high school?
Yeah, coming in as a freshman, just the speed and size of everyone on defense is tremendously bigger than high schoolers. Got defensive linemen are actually 270, that are 6'2". In high school, they're usually 200 pounds, running 5'4s. Now these guys run 4'8s. But I feel like the game's starting to progressively slow down for me, and I I want to give a little shout out. My fullback, LaDevin Smith, we went to the same high school.
Oh, really?
Yes, and so it's kind of nice bringing him over. So having him blocking for me and this new offensive line, I'm actually able to have more of a chemistry with LaDevin being in college again with him.
Mm-hmm.
So
was that kind of a package deal when you guys came over?
When Coach Smith came down in December to talk to me at LaDevin, he's just like, hey, he's like, we were watching one of your guys' highlight tapes and we recognized the other one. We were like, hey, wait a minute, are they both seniors? And so me and LaDevin, we've been playing football for 3 years in the backfield with each other. So it's honorable to be able to do it for hopefully 4 years in a row.
So it was nice to make that move from high school football right onto the college level. What other areas, are you getting more comfortable with as far as the system, that type of thing here?
The pass protection. In my high school, obviously football, pass protection for running backs was quite simple for us. And here with Coach Z's style of offense, I had a little bit of a transition for me. I spent 3 days just in the playbook, not talking to no one. Just I needed to know my stuff, and then once I was able to get that down, I felt like the game was a lot slower for me.
Well, Coach Zwiefel has a pretty exciting brand of offense, and I can imagine for a running back, it's a lot of fun to compete in.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. What talk about the rest of the season that lies ahead for you guys. You're in a tough spot right now. You lose your opening game of the conference, but it's not over with by a long shot. A lot of games to play. And so talk about the team's mentality as you've focused on this week against Simpson.
For me personally, as I try to tell everyone, is like, we take it one day at a time. Just don't look down the road. Just let's get better each and every single day. And I believe that if we keep on doing that, we should be really good.
Well, Alec, you're off to a great start as a Spartan, so we wish you continued success this season, and as long as you're here at UD. Downers Grove, Illinois. You're from there, and that's a Chicago suburb, right? Well, what makes Downers Grove so famous or interesting?
What makes Downers Grove interesting? Well, it's a really big town. We got Downers Grove South. We got Downers Grove North. We're 15 minutes away from Naperville, around some of those areas, and what's an interesting fact about South? We've had a couple former alumni actually in professional sports right now.
Okay.
So, that's kind of a nice thing.
Yeah, sure. And now they got a UD Spartan playing football. Alec?
Two of them.
Yeah, two of them. I can't forget about LaDevin. We wish you the best of luck again, Alec, and thanks for joining us here tonight on the UD Football Show.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, you bet. Well, Alec Arvanitakis and Zach Morana joining us on our Spartan Spotlight here tonight for the players. And that's going to wrap up our UD Football Show for this week. Thanks to head coach Stan Zwiefel. Thanks to our in-studio producer Josh Crowell as well, back in the River Studios, 101.1 The River. And we'll talk to you Saturday afternoon here from Chalmers Field, 3:40 with our pregame show. Jim Caloran and I will be on the air. And a kickoff at 4:05 as the Spartans try to get that first win of the season as they take on the Simpson College Storm. So for the UD Football Show, I'm Tim Larry. Have a great rest of your evening.